Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz test postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 485. I had the black pieces, my opponent played e4, and I went for the French defense. And after a couple of moves, my opponent plays knight c3 here, and this allows the win hour, which is what I normally play. But, well, recently I played the classical with knight to f6, and I got into trouble, so I thought I should play that a few more times, make sure I know how to play this opening. So knight f6. My opponent plays bishop g5, the main move, and I go with bishop e7. There are alternatives. There's the McCutcheon variation, bishop b4, and the Byrne-Morozevich variation with d takes e4, a very sharp line. But, well, I don't know a whole lot of theory. I think this is a safer way to play. You get a decent position. And e5 kicking the knight, and the knight drops back to d7. So a typical kind of a French counterplay. You're going to go for f6 and for c5. Try and undermine the center. Now the normal move is just to exchange bishops here, but the second choice here is kind of an interesting way to play. This is known as the Alekhine-Chatard attack, and this is a gambit, but it's not a particularly good gambit to accept. You're better off declining this gambit. If you take, you go ahead and show this how it goes. He takes back with the pawn, and then you can grab that, but you've opened up the h-file for his rook. He gets some knight moves with tempo, knight h3, chasing the queen back, and knight to f4 gets the knight to a good post. And there's different ways to continue here. Knight c6. What's the chess engine? The chess engine is recommending g6 to try and shore up the king side a bit and keep the knight out of some of these squares, and the queen probably as well. Looks pretty dangerous to me. Is the king ever going to get castled, and is black ever going to get to develop his queen side pieces? You see the engine rates this as about even, which means that white has good compensation for the pawn. So I declined the gambit. I played the move a6. What's interesting is that I was avoiding the move c5. a6 is a way of preparing c5 because I wanted to keep the knight out of b5. Because I ran into trouble exactly in a similar situation, not exactly the same position, but in a similar situation I ran into trouble with the knight coming in here. But there is a key difference, so I just wanted to point this out. If I go c5 and he drops in here to b5, I have the move f6 with a tempo. It undermines the e-pawn so that the knight isn't easily coming in here, and it hits the bishop. If the knight comes in here immediately, I suppose that's the only time it can get in here. You takes back, and then you grab the bishop. So that's the point. He hasn't got time to park his knight on d6. And in other lines, white manages to win this pawn, so this square d6 is not available for the knight. So, for example, if the bishop goes back to d3, that's the opening move, then you can take this pawn. And if he takes back, you can keep taking. And you maintain control of this square on d6, so the knight's not able to hop in there. So knight to so in this position, knight to b5, the move I was worried about from the last time that I played this this line. Well, since the last time I played the classical French, I was worried about that and played a6 to prevent it. But in this case, I can play it because of this trick with f6. So a little trivia on the opening. So I played a6, not a necessary move, and now the main move for white is queen to g4, keeping a slight edge for white. He played a3, and we get into a position which is about even. We're out of the opening book now. Now I get in c5 and go about the typical undermining. He plays f4, shoring up the center. I go knight c6, getting my pieces out, more pressure on the center. He takes. I take back with the knight. The bishop is pinned, of course, still. It's one of the things that's going on here. At some point I'm thinking, well, maybe I can really attack this bishop and win it. But it didn't seem right just yet. Well, also there's a lot of forcing moves going on. He plays b4, kicking my knight back. And then knight to f3 developing. So at some point the position goes down a little bit. Yeah, maybe it was with knight f3. Because f6, which I play here, seems to be a good response. So what is the chess engine suggesting at this point? Knight g to e2, or bishop takes e7, resolving the question with the bishop right away. Anyway, yeah, after knight f3, I seem to be getting some kind of edge with f6, hitting his bishop and forcing some exchanges here. He takes, take back. Oh, I took with the knight. Yeah, I decided I wanted to keep my kingside pawns together, and I guess that's an okay decision looking at this. Yeah, knight takes f6. If I take with the g-pawn, it just looks weakening on the king side, so I guess this was a good decision. He hops in with knight to e5, and now I can trade this off and win a pawn. So I go ahead for that. I mean, it's the idea of going after the center. What is it? Oh, it's even stronger here to play queen c7 first and prepare that exchange on e5. Get my queen out. Yeah, I do get into trouble, so it's not as simple as just winning a pawn here, because it opens up lines of attacks for my opponent's pieces. I drop back to d7, and he throws in queen h5. His queen starts to invade here. Now I'm keeping an edge through this, but now he trades bishops and brings his queen forward. And now I grab this pawn. And okay, I'm keeping an edge through all this, but I'm playing in kind of a risky fashion because my king has not gotten to safety. Somewhere along here I should probably move this bishop and castle queenside. But anyway, he castles right here. And I played knight f7 to try and kick his queen away, but his queen has a good square on, well, I don't know if it's a good square, but his queen stays in the neighborhood by going to g7. I go to f8, trying to chase it away again, queen to f6. And now my next move actually is losing. So I need to continue either trying to chase the queen away with a move like knight to d8. That would open up this line. Or the other way of playing, which is very interesting and one I didn't think of. The engine suggests queen h6 with the tempo. He moves the king, and then I castle. So queen h6 check, king b1, and castles. So that would be a way to get my king to a relatively safe position, although I don't know if I want to castle kingside. In this particular case, he's already got a rook on the h-file and an advanced pawn ready to attack here. Anyway, it'd be interesting. But the move I play is just losing. And my opponent spots this idea right away. He sacrifices a knight on d5. And this is one of those moves you can actually play without not doing a lot of calculating. Because when I take back, white is getting two pawns for the piece, and he's completely exposed my king, which is momentarily unable to castle. So there's got to be enough compensation here. Let's see. My best defense would be a move like queen d6, kind of a funny way to play, putting the queen in line of the rook. I would not have thought of this, but okay, knight e3, trying to take advantage of the tempo, and then queen to e7, trying to chase the queen away. Queen to g7, and play would continue with an edge to white, but that's my best defense. Anyway, I took, and now I'm just losing. What I didn't notice is that he's got this queen c6 check, picking up the rook, and that's just gets the material back and wins. What's funny is that it's even stronger to play bishop takes b5 check and sacrifice another piece. So if he plays that, I take, and then he plays queen c6 check. I thought it would be about opening up lines and moving a rook over, but this queen c6 check is pretty serious. He could throw in some checks with the rook, and then grab my rook and have a pretty dominating position there, and go on to win. So those are ways for white to win. He didn't play any of those. He played the kind of natural move, rook e1, but you do need to be precise when you're attacking and you've sacrificed some material, so you got to look around for the best move. And now I get to crawl out and escape. So king d7, plays g3. He's opening up a line for his bishop. This is kind of clever, bringing the bishop to this h3 square. And the chess engine spotted that idea too. It likes that as the top choice. Kind of a surprising move to just push a pawn in the middle of an attack, but has an attacking idea there. Okay, I play knight d6, trying to chase away his queen and get the knight into a good defensive position. Bishop a3 check, h3 check. And now there's three moves that could be played here. I could move the king to c7 or to c6, or I could play knight to f5. And the three moves give three different outcomes. King c7 loses, knight f5 draws, most likely, and king c6 wins. So a nice example of how a sharp position. You have three choices, and each choice leads to a different outcome. So I chose the losing move. I end up getting chased to c6 anyway, so I should have just gone to king to c6 right away. Went king c7, and this gives him a tempo for his rook. Rook to e7 check, chase my king here. He follows up with queen c3 check, the correct follow-up in this case. I block with knight to c4. He's angling for this c5 square, where if he can place a queen there, that will be checkmate. So, but I have some pressure. I'm attacking his rook, and I'm attacking his bishop. So, just from a material point of view, it looks like he can't play rook to e1. But actually, that is, if you look at the engine evaluation, that is the way to win. So white is winning once again with rook h to e1. And say if I take the bishop, for example, queen to d4, and now he's sneaking his queen in to this square. And there's some clever knight maneuvers to try and save things, or queen maneuvers, but basically there's a forced mate here. I can't save this position. But well, I don't know, it's a blitz game. If you can't calculate the win, you're reluctant to give up more material. So he just dropped back here, defending his rook. But now this is winning for me because I'm still a piece up. So I take off the bishop and bring my rook to hopefully trade more materials. He drops back, and I invade with my queen. So I play this part pretty well. And once I get that advantage back, actually, I maintain it the rest of the game. Tries rook h to f1, chasing my queen away, but throwing a check and get rid of one pair of rooks. And then I bring this other rook over to d8. I saw that he was going to invade with his rook, and I wanted to be able to block it. And that's what happened. And so he just exchanged rooks. Probably a better try for black is to keep the rooks on, go somewhere else, maybe try and invade down here or here, rook to e7 or rook to e8. But I'm still better by quite a bit. So anyway, we go for the trade, and then he tries to get his king away from trouble. Let's see. I push on with d4. This keeps his queen from coming in and harassing my king with some checks. You know, that's the other thing he could try in this position, is he could try going for the checks. But my queen is covering this square, so he doesn't have any checks that he can play. Yeah, so actually king b1 is the best move here, according to the engine. White survives the longest with that move. I play d4, trying to shut his queen out and freeing up my queen to move and start delivering some checks. Queen to d3, queen e1 check, king goes to a2, and now I go to c3, and I'm just threatening checkmate here. So the queen trade is forced, and then after this is an endgame where I'm a piece up. So it's not too hard to win. Basically, the knight and these extra pawns over here will hold off the king and these pawns, while my king is free to walk over here and take the pawns over on the king side. And so that's what happened. I'll just walk through the rest of the game here. It's all very straightforward. You just don't want to let these pawns get too far advanced, but you can even sacrifice the knight over here to stop these pawns from coming forward if necessary. It turns out I was able to hold on to everything. And after this move, my pawn's going to queen, so he resigned. So pretty interesting back and forth game. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.